I keep my voice steady. 24 hours still remain on their notice, but I will not move a single box. The spare key burns cold in my palm as my daughter thrusts a finger toward the villa and declares, "It belongs to them now." My daughter stole my villa for her husband's family. In front of everyone, she said, "It's theirs now." "Dad, the place isn't yours anymore. My in-laws need it for a home." Her leg bit into the quiet. Sunday dinner, green chili stew, tortillas stopped mid-bite. I set my spoon down. "Say that again." Ryan didn't watch his plate. He watched my walls, the framed elevations I drew. "Empty houses are wasteful, Harold. Yours just sits there most weeks. My parents could actually live in it." "They have a house," I said. "It's cramped," Emily said. "They're sleeping in their den. You barely go to the lake anymore." "I go enough, it's mine." Ryan smiled, polite and sharp. "Maybe you're holding on to architecture instead of life." Restarting, cicadas drilled the warm air. Anita's photo, hairpinned, sideways grin, watched from the bookcase. I straightened the frame. A knuckle rapped the back door. Mrs. Ortega from next door stepped in with a washed casserole dish. "I'm just returning." "Oh, I'll come back." "You're fine," I said. Annie didn't soften. "Mom used to say space should be used. Dad, you told Ryan you were tired of driving out there." "I asked him to water the plants once," I said, "once." Flashback hesitated in the doorway. Ryan rose, all courtly manners. "Good evening, ma'am." She nodded, retreated a step, eyes sliding to me, question, apology, warning. I turned back to my daughter. "You don't get to give away what you didn't build." Ryan took the seat beside her. "Then call it a family reallocation. You can visit." "Visit?" I said. "To my own porch?" "It's our family's porch," Emily said. "We've talked this through." Something small fell inside me and hit bottom. Shame rose hot, then cooled into a shape I knew. Resolve. "Families don't erase their fathers at the dinner table," I said. Blackmail's parents had been quiet. Mr. Torres folded his napkin carefully. "We'll take good care of it," he said. "You'll see." "Pretext. I already have," I said. "Every board in that place has a story." Emily pressed her hands flat on the tablecloth. "Dad, the villa isn't just a building. It can be a home for us now, for my kids." "And for me?" I asked. Silence pulled the room tight. "Don't make this ugly," Ryan said. "You could tell the council you're transferring use. It would look generous." "Use isn't ownership," I said. "That's a legal word," he said, almost amused. "We're talking about family." I looked at Emily. "You're talking about taking." Her chin lifted. "I'm talking about moving forward." Mrs. Ortega cleared her throat softly. "I'll just leave this here," she said, setting the dish by the sink. "Good night, Harold," without looking away from my daughter. Ryan broke the eye line. "We'll swing by the villa next weekend," he said. "Make sure utilities are set." "You'll do no such thing," I said. "Dad," Emily said, trying to sand the edges, "let's be practical." "I've built practical," I said, "measure twice, cut once. Practical is keeping what stands." Her lips thinned. "Then you can explain that to the council." "I will," I said, "and to anyone else who needs to hear it." Ryan leaned back, smile returning like a stamp in wax. "You can't stop what's sensible." I stood, not to tower, to end the performance. Dinner's over. On the porch, the air held the last heat of the day. Mrs. Ortega had crossed to her yard where her husband waited by the gate. They spoke in low voices, glancing over. A neighbor 2 houses down turned his radio to a hush. A screen door slapped shut. I locked the back door. The villa's key weighed against my thigh, a small, cool fact. Across the fence, Mrs. Ortega leaned to her husband and whispered, "Something's happening over there." He looked past her at my dark kitchen window. "It's already happened," he said. The villa key glinted on my desk like it had crawled there to accuse me. I leaned back, recalling the afternoon months earlier. Ryan had stood on the porch, polite, sleeves rolled. "Just water the plants while I'm gone," I'd said. "Horse, Harold." "You can trust me," he'd answered, pocketing the key with a grin too quick to notice then. The phone buzzed in my hand. Emily's name lit the screen. "Emily, text. Ryan always helps you. You said he could use the villa." "Me, It was for plants. Don't twist it. Emily, council will remember what you said. Heterosexual. Around Emily, Ryan remembers you told him any time. I stared at the bubble, left it unread. The study was silent but for the cicadas outside and the steady hum of my old drafting lamp. I pulled open the top drawer, spread out the deed, tax bills, utility receipts, thin shields for a fortress I'd built with my hands. The phone chimed again, a calendar ping, Council, Thursday. The reminder banner hung on the glass like a threat with a date stamp. I ran my finger down the margin of the deed. Anita's signature coiled beside mine, proof of a life designed together. Hymal, heart pulse. Regret is heavy, but it hardens into resolve when you hold it long enough. I snapped the desk lamp off, slid the spare key back into the drawer, and shut it with a decisive click. By Wednesday morning, the heat already pressed against the pavement, a wavering pain between me and the porch I built. A moving truck idled in the drive, tailgate yawning, tape squealed, boxes thumped. Our lamp, floated past the front window like a fish in a bowl. Emily stood at the top step, hands braced on the rail like a gate. Ryan leaned against the post with the relaxed authority of a man who hadn't nailed a single board here. "Dad," she said, "please don't make this harder. This is our family's home now." I stopped at the bottom step. "It was designed for your mother and me. Every line here has our names in it." Ryan's smile was polite and sharpened. "You hardly use it. Empty houses rot. We're putting it to life." "Position isn't ownership," I said. "It's stewardship," Ryan said, enjoying the word. "We're stepping up while you step back." He took one more step. The shed in the sun, 3 passes of a sander I still remembered. "You will not take this from me." Emily slid sideways, blocking the next step. "You're making yourself look unreasonable." "Asked? You're how?" I asked a box past us. His mother murmured, "Careful," as if I were the hazard. Pennsylvania, a screen door slapped. Mr. Alvarez called, "Everything all right over there?" Ryan raised his voice, hands wide for the audience. "Just helping family settle in. Isn't that right, Em?" Emily didn't answer. Her jaw pulsed. A neighbor 2 houses down turned a radio low, the station's jingle shrinking to a listening hush. "You told Ryan he could use the place," Emily said finally. "Don't pretend you didn't." "I told him to water plants," I said, "because I trusted him." "That's still permission," Ryan said. "You asked for help, and we're continuing it." I let the quiet work a beat. Heart pulse, it's one thing to be stolen from. It's another to be erased while everyone watches. I could hear Anita laughing in memory. "Draw the line straight, Rich, then hold it." Ryan tipped his chin toward the truck. "Call the cops if you want. They'll think you're losing it." "Try me," I said. "I'm very easy to find." He chuckled. "See, this is why it's better if you don't come around when we're moving things." Careless. "Moving whose things?" I asked. From the sidewalk, Mrs. Alvarez's voice drifted, soft with certainty. "Looks like they've already taken it." Words landed like nails in fresh wood, permanent once set. Emily softened her tone, a kindness that felt like gauze on a cut she'd made. "Dad, you can visit? Bring a sweater, we'll keep your chair." "You don't get to keep my chair in my house and call it love," I said. "Don't be dramatic," Ryan said. "We're a modern family. We repurpose what's idle." "I am not idle," I said, "and neither is this home." Short. "You're making a scene." "No," I said, letting the porch reflect in his sunglasses. "You are." A tape gun screeched behind him. Ryan's father edged by with a rolled rug I bought the year Emily started grade school. He pretended not to hear us. "Please, we're doing what's best for everyone." "For everyone but me," I said. "Why does it have to be about you?" she asked, and I watched the line she'd crossed become a road. Neighbors leaned elbows on rails. The delivery truck across the block idled longer than it needed to, the driver studying us as if we were a program he couldn't pause. Ryan lowered his voice, private for me and loud enough for the street. "You'll only embarrass yourself if you push this." "Embarrassment is your concern," I said. "Mine is the truth." He tilted his head. "The truth is you hardly come here. The truth," I said, "is this house has a name you did not earn." I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I stood there with the key heavy in my pocket, the porch warm under my shoes, the neighbor's gaze laying weight on my shoulders. Then I turned and walked back down the steps. Each tread remembered my foot. It still held me. Behind me, the murmurs stitched themselves into something the town would wear by afternoon. Take as I reached the sidewalk, a final whisper floated across the street, gentle and lethal. Maybe they're right. I didn't look back. Every step away was a refusal to collapse in their theater and the start of measuring what would come next. The house was still, late summer air pressing through the screens. My office smelled of pencil shavings and old paper. I cleared the desk, laying out the deed first, then the tax bills, then utility stubs, like lining up soldiers for inspection. Every sheet whispered the same thing. This place was mine, earned board by board, beam by beam. The deed's seal caught the lamplight, its embossed circle shining faintly. I traced it with my thumb as if pressure alone could keep it alive. Anita's signature curled beside mine, a reminder of the life we'd built and the one our daughter seemed eager to erase. I picked up the phone, dialed David Keller. His voice came through brisk and confident. Harold, I reviewed what you sent over. This will come down to clarity. Do you have the original deed in hand? It's here, I said, flattening it with my palm. Stamped, signed, not a smudge on it. Good, bring copies of everything. Taxes, utilities, mortgage release if you've got it. Paper trails matter. Friday morning, 10 sharp. Done, I said. I've got them spread out already. My will be ready. All my screen lit up with Emily's name. I glanced at it, jaw tightening. Emily text. Don't waste money on lawyers, Dad. Emily text. This will only get uglier if you fight there. Black on white, as if she'd scrawled them across the deed itself. David's voice pulled me back. Harold, you there? I forced air out slow. I'm here. You sound tight. This will be a process, not a sprint. Bring everything, and I mean everything. My eye still on the text. Down to the last nail. Swallows. You build strength the way you build walls, line by line until it stands. I circled Friday on the wall calendar with a heavy stroke, the ink bleeding slightly on the paper. 2 boxes down, Sunday glared at me. Council follow-up. 2 days between them, 2 days to hold steady. He looked at the deed again. I thought about Emily's message. She had Ryan's confidence now, his parents' presence, the neighbors' whispers. And yet here in my hand was the one thing they couldn't conjure. Proof. The drafting lamp hummed faintly. Outside, a car passed slow, its headlights sweeping my office window like a searchlight. The beam caught the seal, made it gleam for a second, as if reminding me where the fight would be won. I picked up Emily's text thread, thumb hovering over delete. My hand stilled. Cooperate. Delete it. I pinned it. The council chamber smelled of polish and faint mildew, the kind of room where verdicts were spoken in lowered voices. I sat 2 rows back, deed folded in my folder, pulse steady but heavy. Emily stood at the podium, hands clasped like a supplicant. Ryan angled behind her like a lawyer in rehearsal. I just want you all to see the truth, she said, eyes flicking toward me as though daring me to deny it. The clerk dimmed the lights. The projector coughed, hummed, and then the screen flared. There I was, months earlier, on the villa porch. My hand extended, keys dangling in the sunlight. Ryan, take this, my voice said. Then the clip snapped forward, cutting before the words, for the plants, could land. The image froze on Ryan pocketing the key, frame lingering like a guilty verdict. Murmurs filled the chamber. Emily turned to the council. You can see he gave it willingly, no confusion. He wanted Ryan to have the place. Ryan leaned close to the microphone, tone careful, almost sympathetic. Sometimes Harold forgets things. We've all noticed. This was one of those moments. Chilled heat rose to my face. I stood, my chair scraping the tile. That key was for plants. Don't twist it. From the benches, a neighbor whispered too loud, Look at him. He doesn't even remember. A laugh answered softly, clipped off when the chairwoman banged her pen on the desk. I lent in kindness had turned into a blade in their hands. Emily gestured delicately at the frozen frame, a portrait of my supposed surrender. He doesn't stay at the villa. It's empty. We're simply giving it life. You're giving it theft, I said. Ryan spread his arms like a patient teacher. Harold, no one wants to embarrass you, but the community deserves a home that's lived in, not abandoned. I built that home, I said, voice low but clear. I decide when I enter it, and who else does? Flooding exhaled, turned to the whiteboard, and with slow strokes wrote, Sunday Review. Chalk dust floated in the projector beam like smoke. More murmurs, a councilman leaned toward his colleague. If he can't recall the context, the rest was lost to the shuffle of papers. Ryan pressed again. If you fight this, you'll only prove the point. You're not thinking clearly. Reluctant enough to see manipulation when it plays on a wall, I said, and clear enough to keep my papers in order. You won't erase me with a clip. Silence stretched, brittle as glass. At the back, Pastor Maria shifted. She didn't speak loudly, but I caught her eyes. When the meeting adjourned, she moved close, touched my sleeve. Records matter, she said quietly, not whispers. Leukemia, but the whispers still clung as I stepped into the night, heavier than the deed in my folder, heavier even than the key in my pocket. The truck idled like a big animal in my driveway, heat shimmering above the hood. A dolly rattled over concrete, cardboard scraped paint. I walked up until the porch posts framed my daughter and the man who'd made himself at home in my life. Emily slid in front of the steps, palms up. Dad, please. You're making this harder than it needs to be.
I'm the one being pushed out of my house, I said. Hard is already here.
Ryan leaned on the post, casual as a landlord. We told you, this place needs living in. You hardly come.
It gets the hours I choose to give it, I said.
He smiled. That's not how homes work.
Funny, I said. I built this one. I know how it works.
A mover shouldered a box labeled kitchen toward the threshold. The delivery driver trailed behind, clipboard under his arm. He paused at the bottom step, glanced at me.
You the owner?
Yes, I said, inspected.
He's sentimental. We're taking over.
Unpredicted stayed where he was. I don't cross a door without the owner's okay. He looked from me to the box. You got the okay?
You don't need it, Ryan said. Family arrangement.
Not how my boss sees it, the driver said. He set the clipboard against his hip. You want me to leave the load curbside? Ryan's smile thinned. We'll handle it. The driver shrugged, turned away. The mover hesitated, then backed the box down to the dolly with an apologetic nod. Heart pulse. Even a stranger read the line my own daughter refused to see. Emily's voice softened. Dad, stop making this a spectacle. We can share. You can visit. You don't visit your own porch, I said. She flinched, then straightened. You gave Ryan the key. You knew this was coming. You're trying to make it a deed. Constrained the street, Mr. Alvarez shaded his eyes. Harold, you okay? Ryan called back before I could answer. We're fine. Just getting settled. Mrs. Alvarez, softer, to her husband. He looks tired. The word hung there, tilted, ready to be turned into slipping by nightfall. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Sunday, 10 a.m. service pulsed on the lock screen. I thumbed the reminder away. The countdown didn't care about my porch. Emily stepped in closer, a hand light on my sleeve like I was a stubborn patient. Don't waste money on lawyers. We can avoid embarrassment. You don't get to edit my life into your script, I said. Ryan moved between us, low voice meant to sound adult. Call the cops if you want. It'll make you look foolish. I've built too many roofs to be worried by weather, I said. Foolish is thinking a borrowed key turns into a title. He squinted. You keep making this legal. This is family. Then act like family, I said. A rattle of silverware from the open truck made everyone glance away for a beat. Ryan took the moment. We're going to keep moving. You can stand here or you can get used to it. Well, email bit her lip. Dad, please. I looked past them into the entryway I had cut and sanded and stained, past the table where Emily learned fractions over graph paper, past the door to the porch, which I designed to frame the lake like a photograph. The place remembered us, even if she didn't. Nothing moves across that threshold with my consent, I said. Not one chair. Ryan's parents, hovering in the hall with a lamp, exchanged a look that said they believed consent was already conquered. I stepped back from the heat of them, the heat of the truck, the heat of the afternoon. Mr. Alvarez lifted a hand as if to offer a word and then let it fall. The driver, already in his cab, turned the radio low, waiting to see how the scene would end. It didn't. Not cleanly. Not today. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. The screen had gone dark, but I still saw the reminder's numbers hanging there in my mind like a church bell. Ryan's voice followed me down the steps, friendly as a blade. "Go on, Harold, call the cops. It'll only prove you're senile." I didn't turn. The dolly rattled again on concrete. Somewhere behind me, a box cutter clicked open. The church bell tolled a second time, then faded into the blue New Mexico sky. Congregants streamed out into the courtyard, voices weaving hymns with gossip, coffee steam rising from the fellowship table. I stood apart, deed folder tucked under my arm like a shield, watching my neighbors shape their circles without me. Emily and Ryan moved toward me. They didn't rush. They let the eyes of the courtyard turn first. Their smiles were pleasant enough to fool anyone not listening closely. "Meliors," Emily said, touching my sleeve just lightly enough for people to think it was tender. "Don't make this harder. Everyone here knows you gave Ryan the key. That's why we're moving in." Familiarity of conversation dipped. I kept my voice even. "I lent it. For plants. That's all." Ryan tilted his head, tone soft as if consoling me in front of witnesses. "He forgets the details. It happens. We're not blaming him," Underestimated whispered too loud. "He hardly stays there anyway." The words seemed to travel faster than sound, nods spreading through the crowd like wind through leaves. "Take heart pulse. Losing respect burns worse than losing keys." I straightened. "Respect isn't a timeshare. You don't divide it by square footage." Emily's expression tightened, but she glanced toward the listeners. "Dad, you're embarrassing yourself. Please stop." "Embarrassment belongs to those who steal and smile," I said. Ryan leaned closer, but his words carried across the courtyard. "We're not stealing. We're giving the villa a future." "The villa already has a future," I answered. "One built on truth, not edited clips." Murmurs rose again. Mrs. Ortega whispered to a friend, "He's confused, poor man." I shifted the folder under my arm, the papers inside rasping against each other. The deed, Anita's signature, 35 years of work, none of it louder than their whispers. A gust scattered hymn sheets across the stones. A boy ran after them, one page catching against my shoe. "Rock of Ages, cleft for me." I bent, picked it up, smoothed the creases. Ryan chuckled, pitched just high enough. "See? He clings to scraps." Laughter answered him from somewhere in the circle. By the church door, the bulletin board paper flapped. "Next council session, details to follow." No numbers, but the message was clear. The clock was ticking in public now. Pastor Maria crossed the courtyard, shawl lifting in the breeze. She rested a hand on my arm, her voice for me alone. "Keep your papers ready. Records stand longer than rumors." I nodded once, her words the only thing that steadied me. Emily leaned in then, close enough that no one else could hear. Her breath stirred the hymn sheet still in my hand. "You can't stop us." The loon's courtyard buzzed again, louder than the bell had been. Snatches reached me as I walked away. Underestimated. He's slipping. Maybe it's for the best. He should let the young ones handle it. Like burrs, following me past the gate, past the coffee smell, past the bulletin board's flapping reminder. The folder grew heavier in my arm. Proof was there. Solid. Notarized. But proof doesn't silence whispers. Not yet. David Keller's office smelled like leather and copier heat, a room built to make paper feel heavier than people. He waved me into the chair opposite his desk and held out a hand. I slid the folder across. He drew the deed free like a surgeon lifting a scalpel. "The original," he said. "The original," I answered, which tilted the page under the lamp. The embossed seal threw a pale halo. Anita's signature curled beside mine, steady, deliberate, alive in the way ink can be. "Chain is clean," David said, thumb skimming the margin. "Recorded. No defects of acknowledgement. Utilities and taxes are current. On time for 35 years. Good." He nodded once, already arranging 2 yellow pads into neat columns. Facts and nonsense. We'll keep you on the facts. The latch clicked. Ryan came in with a gray-suited attorney whose tie looked like a freshly ironed thread. Emily followed, face set in polite concern. "Counsel," the attorney said, offering a business card that smelled faintly of cologne. "This is a family right of residence. Mr. Torres's parents need a home." David didn't touch the card. "Residence rights don't supersede recorded title." Ryan leaned a hip on the credenza. "Counsel has broad discretion." "Discretion is not magic," David said. "It can't make a deed disappear." Prejudice looked at me instead of the lawyers. "Dad, no one wants this ugly. You gave Ryan the key. You knew we'd be there more." I glanced at the deed under the lamp. The spare key flickered in my mind, my hand offering it on the porch. A small kindness turned into a cudgel. I imagined slamming the key down now, then let the thought pass. Paper, not metal, would hold. "The deed is clear," I said. "The stall is not." Ryan's attorney smiled like we'd reached the part of the show he liked. "You'll find, Mr. Mitchell, that process has a pace. Council calendars are patient. We'll ask for a postponement while the community considers." "Considers what?" David said. "A video clip and gossip? We'll be filing Friday." The attorney spread his hands. "Filing is your right, of course, but age has a way of making these things harder. You'll tire." Heart pulse. "Delay isn't neutral. It's a slow theft." Abolish his arms. "We can spare you the strain if you just recognize what's sensible." "What's sensible," I said, "is not pretending a borrowed key equals a transfer." Submerged. Being voice tightened. "Dad, you're making this about pride." "I'm making it about ownership." David slid the deed back into my folder with a careful tap that sounded like a gavel. "We're done here," he told the attorney. "We'll see you on the record." They gathered their briefcase and morals and left. Emily lingered in the doorway, eyes softening, mouth not following. "We'll check on the place today," she said. "Make sure the utilities are comfortable for them." "You won't cross my threshold," I said. She held my gaze a second longer, then turned away. In the hall, her voice lowered to a breath meant to be missed. "See, you can't stop us." The door shut. The room exhaled. David poured coffee into a paper cup, set it near me, and lowered his voice. "They're stalling because your proof is strong. If they had substance, they'd be racing to a ruling. We tighten our chain, we file, and we show the stamp." I took the cup but didn't drink. The heat felt good in my hands. "What else do you need?" "Nothing new," he said, "just clean copies, and you here Friday." He flipped his desk calendar open, drew a dark circle around a square, and pushed the pen over to me. I wrote it myself, slow and clear, so there could be no mistaking it. Friday, W, filing, 10 a.m. Double spread a little into the paper's grain. I kept the pen there until the bleed stopped, then capped it and pressed my thumb on the square, holding the day in place. The locksmith's van, nosed up behind Ryan's SUV, sent a hard white stripe across the windshield. A drawer rolled open inside the van with a metal sigh. Tools clinked like silver. The man who stepped out wore a faded polo and a badge clipped to his chest. No drama, just a job. Emily met him at the walk. "We just need the cylinder swapped," she said. "Quick job." Wildfires held up the spare key like a trophy. "House is ours. He gave us this." The locksmith glanced at the key, then at the door, then at me, parked at the curb with my window down, hands on the wheel. "Owner around?" Retreated his arms. "That's me. Family arrangement," the locksmith asked, calm as a form. A company's smile thinned. "He hardly comes here. We're moving in." Unleashed my door and stepped out. "Title holder matters," I said. The man nodded like a box check. "Company policy. Authorization has to come from the person on record." He tugged his phone free, thumbed a screen, and turned it so they could see. Owner authorization required glowed in clean sans serif. Ryan frowned. "We're telling you it's fine. Do your job." "Without owner authorization, I can't drill, can't swap, can't code in a new fob," the locksmith said. "It's not personal. It's liability." Blink's color rose. "He gave us the key." "A spare isn't authorization," he said. "It's access. Different thing." Heart pulse. Locks don't lie. They answer to the name on the deed. Windows's jaw worked. "Then use your override." "Brushing one for me," the locksmith said. If the system's registered to a name that isn't yours, my console times out. He held up a small pad, tapped. It gave a flat beep and flashed red. See? No owner code, no action. Ryan shot me a look. He rigged it. I registered it properly, I said. That's called owning a thing. With true pat away. Call me when the paperwork's clear and I'll be happy to help. Emily stepped closer to him. There's got to be something you can do. We have family rights. I install hardware, he said, not unkind. I don't referee family. Ryan planted himself between the man and the door. You're refusing service? I'm following policy, the locksmith said. You want me to write it down? I can leave a card with the wording. No, Ryan snapped. Just no. He turned to me. You're making this ugly for no reason. You made it ugly when you tried to pick a lock with a rumor, I said. Emily's voice trembled, anger fighting with embarrassment. Dad, stop clinging. You'll make yourself look small. Small is what thieves make other people feel, I said. I don't recommend the role. The locksmith shouldered his case. Folks, I'm heading out. He tipped his cap at me like we were the only two adults present, then walked back to the van. The door thudded. The engine caught. Dust curled up in the heat as he pulled away. Silence came down fast. Rappy Ryan's mouth twitched like he wanted to spit and couldn't find the words. We'll see who the neighborhood believes. They already believed you, I said. Today they watched a lock not believe you back. Emily reached for his arm, missed and let her hand fall. The porch was quiet except for the faint tick of the wind chime Anita had picked. 3 notes that always sounded like a decision being made. The keys in my hand jingled once, a small, clean sound that carried farther than any whisper. Behind me, Ryan said it a 3rd time, like a prayer that kept failing. He rigged it. Friday started crisp and bright, the kind of morning that makes paper look whiter. I set the spare key on my dresser, felt its light lie in my palm, then left it there. Metal could be twisted, paper would hold. David Keller met me outside the notary storefront with a nod that said he'd done this 100 times and that today mattered anyway. Inside. Clean counters, a fern wilting politely, a wall clock that clicked like a metronome for signatures. IDs, the notary said, voice even. We laid them down. Sign here and here. Pens tapped, pages turned. Her hands were practiced, precise. The act itself needed no speeches. It needed accuracy. Constructs. The recorder's office sat across the plaza, a low building with lines the color of old envelopes. In the lobby, the ticket machine chirped and spat out a number. People stood with manila folders like shields. Somewhere a printer rattled. The floor smelled faintly of toner and wintergreen. Once that stamp hits, David murmured, gossip can't touch it. Abolish for quiet, I said. Heart pulse. Relief and grief braided. I'm giving it away to keep it safe. I glanced left and saw a man a few years older than me, shoulders squared under a jacket that had known sun, a veteran cap faded to the color of dust. He studied a folded paper in his hands as if it might change if he blinked. A stripe of sunlight lay across the stitched letters. I imagined Anita squeezing my fingers. Do the generous thing, Rich, and do it clean. Our number blinked to life. The county counter felt like a small stage. A clerk with careful hair smiled the way clerks learn to, politely, with boundaries. Filing? She asked. Deed transfer, David said, to the Santa Fe Veterans Housing Initiative. She scanned the page, eyes moving left to right like a calm tide. All in order. She slid the stack onto a rubber mat beside a square device that looked like a squat, patient animal. Ready? David asked. Lowered the device. A mechanical thud, brisk and final, drove ink into paper. When she lifted it, the mark sat there like a door locked from the right side. Flooded. 10 a.m. Ragas, no more rumor. No more parsing of a borrowed key. A time. A place. A record. Tay-Key copied the page and slid the duplicate toward me in a manila folder. David didn't touch it, letting the moment sit. I set my palm on the folder as if taking an oath. Anything else you need from us? David asked. You're good, the clerk said. Processing notice will post by afternoon. Stepped back into the lobby. The man in the veteran's cap had reached the front of his line. He turned slightly, enough for me to see the silver thread where his brim had split and been stitched again. I dipped my head. He gave me the smallest nod, two strangers acknowledging a line drawn in ink. Outside, the sun felt like an answer. David exhaled, a small laugh in it. That's the line they can't cross. Paper doesn't gossip, I said. My phone buzzed as we reached the sidewalk. Emily. You won't go through with this, chorused Emily. You'll regret it. We can still fix this. I typed, deleted, typed again, then. Me. It's done. Discontent. You're choosing strangers over family. Aid me. I'm choosing respect. David tapped his watch and nodded toward the plaza clock. You'll want to keep that copy with you. Slipping the folder under my arm. Another buzz. A new text from Emily lit the screen, longer, angrier. I didn't open it. Instead, I slid the phone into my pocket and pressed the folder edge against my ribs, the paper's stiffness as steady as my breath. The knock came sharp and official, 3 raps that sounded like they'd practiced being obeyed. I opened the door. A man in a blue vest stood there with a pouch of envelopes and a clipboard that had seen more porches than I ever would. His voice was neutral, like weather. Service for Harold Mitchell. That's me. He held out a thick envelope. Eviction notice, he said. I'm required to post a copy on the door as well. He pulled a strip of clear tape, tore it with his teeth, and pressed the paper flat against my wood. The rip of tape was louder than it had any right to be. My eyes caught the bold type first. 72 hours. Heart pulse. Fear shows up first. Resolve answers with steps. If they force a clock on me, I'll answer with a plan. Across the street, Mrs. Alvarez paused mid-arc with her garden hose, water hissing a bright line across grass. She lifted her sunglasses with one finger to read the page, then glanced at me. Mr. Alvarez said something under his breath. She shook her head, lips thinning. The humiliation wasn't private. It had an audience. A car door shut at the curb. Emily's voice carried before she reached the walk. Dad, please don't make this worse. You've got 3 days. Just move your things and let this be peaceful. But leaned out, Rin light as a slap. Paper says it's time to pack, Harold. Trust my eyes on the courier. Do you care who owns this house? I just serve what I'm handed, he said, and smoothed the tape once more with the side of his fist. 1 copy on the door, 1 for you. He placed the second notice in my palm like a receipt neither of us wanted to acknowledge and stepped back to photograph the posting. Click quick, procedural. And then he was already turning away toward his next address. Emily reached the bottom step. 3 days, she repeated softly as if kindness. And this won't have to be ugly. You can't evict an owner, I said. Come, laughed. You'll look silly saying that when the clock runs out. I folded the notice once, then again, the paper creasing along a line someone else had chosen. You've looked silly since you tried to turn a borrowed key into a deed. Gave us the key? Emily said, jaw tight. For plants, I said, not for theft. She flinched at the word. Dad, you started calling a rumor generous, I said. Now you're calling a deadline justice. Ryan came up 1 step, hands in pockets like this was casual. People age out of responsibilities, nothing wrong with that. You could rest. Rest is earned, I said. It's not imposed. He nodded toward the paper.
It's imposed now.
Behind him, the hose hissed and sputtered. Mrs. Alvarez adjusted the nozzle with unnecessary care. She was pretending to water the same spot of lawn, and the pretense stung worse than the watching.
I slid the notice into the folder under my arm, where the deed's weight already waited.
The posted copy on my door flapped in the afternoon breeze. 72 hours breathing like a small, smug lung. Emily lowered her voice.
Dad, I'm trying to spare you. We can come by tomorrow. Help you choose what to take.
What I take, I said, is determined by me.
Always about control.
Ryan said, shaking his head. Always about ownership. I said, and respect. He smirked. Respect is recognizing when you've had your time. I looked past him at the porch I had cut and sanded and sealed, at the doorway that framed the lake like a photograph. My time built this place. My time keeps it honest, or something like it. Then be honest. You can't stop this. I let the silence sit a beat, the hose hiss, the paper flutter. I already have, I said. You just don't know it yet. Ryan's smile flattened. Then why the panic? He flicked the posted page with 2 fingers. This looks like panic. Akazi buys boxes, I said. I buy ink. He didn't like that. He took another step, close enough for me to smell the mint on his breath. 72 hours, Harold. We're done asking. Ending the calendar is a conscience, I said. It's a tactic. He opened his mouth, closed it, glanced to the curb where his parents waited in the car. Emily's shoulders drooped for a blink, then squared. We'll come back tomorrow, she said. Not a question. Talk to a door that reads what's true, I said. Owner. Mrs. Alvarez finally moved, dragging the hose to another patch, the stream arcing across sunlight. Bad way to end, she murmured. Not quite to me, not quite to herself. Ryan heard it, his jaw ticked. We'll see how it ends, he said, tick-tock. I turned without giving him the satisfaction of a reply. The posted page beat against wood as I stepped inside. I could have ripped it down. I didn't. Let them see their countdown flapping in the breeze. Let it announce itself to their own nerves. I closed the door gently, then firmly, until the latch caught and the sound settled in my chest. Through the beveled glass, the letters blurred, but the number didn't. 72 hours kept breathing on the other side, asking to be seen. I let it breathe. I had my own clock now, and it didn't start or stop where they wanted. Saturday lights slanted across the kitchen, sharp enough to cut through the blinds. The eviction notice still clung to the door outside, the bold 72 hours, visible in silhouette like graffiti on my morning. Ty carried the folder to the table, opened the laptop, and clicked David's video link. His face appeared, then froze, his mouth half open, mid-word. David? Static crackled, then the image blinked back. Sorry, bad signal. Don't worry, your declaration's ready. Read, sign, and I'll file first thing Monday. A PDF filled the screen, paragraphs stacked like a wall. My name sat at the top. Below, Emily's and Ryan's listed as challengers. My chest tightened. He bottom, David said. Swear under penalty of perjury. Your signature anchors the chain that makes it iron. I scrolled slowly, each sentence its own hammer. You can do this, Harold. Hovered over the signature box. My hand trembled. Heart pulse. My hand still shakes, but the signature steadies it. I clicked. The screen chimed. Signed, 12:14 p.m. A green checkmark pulsed and held like a held breath. David smiled. That's it? Declaration built? Monday 9 a.m. and I'll walk it into the clerk's office myself. Thank you. Keep the eviction paper close. It's noise, not verdict. The screen froze one more time, his face locked mid-nod. I laughed once, short, not amused. Then the call ended. The kitchen was too quiet. I slipped the laptop shut and picked up the folder, heavy again. At the church office, Pastor Maria was scribbling notes on her appointment pad. I explained in fewer words than it deserved. She didn't flinch. If you need me Monday, she said, jotting her initials in the margin. I'll be there. They gave me 72 hours, I said. Her eyes were steady. Stay steady with them. Back home, the notice still flapped. I pulled my phone, set a timer. 72-hour deadline, Monday, 4 p.m. The digits glowed calm against my thumb. Then the text came. Emily, 3 days, that's the law. Stop fighting. Me, a clock isn't a verdict. Emily, it's already done. Everyone knows it. Me, everyone doesn't decide. A clerk does. Mesto, Emily, you're hurting me. You're choosing strangers over family. Me, I'm choosing respect. Emily, respect is listening to your daughter. Me, respect is earned, not claimed. Emily, when you lose, don't say I didn't warn you. I stared at the thread. My thumb hovered, then slid the phone face down. The oven glass caught my reflection, and behind me the bold letters, 72 hours, shook in the breeze through the door's seam. They hovered there, daring me to blink first. Sunday heat lay on the porch like an extra roof. The lake flashed between cottonwoods. I stood at my own threshold with a folder under my arm, watching my daughter and her husband arrange an audience out of neighbors who had only stepped outside for air. Emily lifted her chin. Dad, we're here to help you move the rest. Please don't make this ugly. Unleash planted himself by the jam, palms splayed like he owned the door. We gave you time, don't drag it out. From across the street, chairs scraped. Mr. and Mrs. Alvarez settled on their stoop. Next door, Ortega's screen door side, a face filling the diamond mesh. A murmur ran the length of the block. Hours left, Monday 4 p.m. The reminder glowed in my palm like a challenge I hadn't accepted. I locked the screen and slid the phone away. Heart pulse. When lies get applause, truth must hold its breath. One stare, her voice pitched for the witnesses. Dad, this is family. We offered to keep your chair. You can visit any time. Recognize you don't visit your own porch, I said. Don't do this, she said. Please. Ryan's smile showed teeth. There's a clock. Let's not be dramatic. Poba the tape edge on the posted paper, fingers drumming impatience. The page trembled against wood. KB Emily reached into her pocket and brought out the spare key, the same metal I'd handed Ryan months ago in a simple request about plants. She pressed it into my palm slowly, theatrically. If you need it one last time, she said, we won't stop you. The key was warm from her hand. I looked at it, then at her. I opened my fingers and let it fall. It struck the plank once clean and lay still. A whisper rustled across the watchers. Ryan laughed. See, he doesn't even know what he wants. Ownership isn't gifted twice, I said. It was earned once. A door down the block clicked. Someone lifted a phone. Just documenting for the HOA chat, the neighbor called, half apology, half threat. Ryan turned a little to catch the lens. We asked him nicely, he said to the camera. He won't accept help. Emily's face arranged itself into concern. He's been forgetful. Stop narrating me, I said. This is not your story to write. Stack of boxes I'd staged inside the door. Books, framed photos, the lamp Anita loved. Let us take those, Dad. We'll keep them safe. Unlocking their safe where they are, I said. Ryan rapped the posted page with his knuckle. Not for long. A child's voice somewhere repeated 48 hours with the mindless accuracy of echo. Laughter, thin, uneasy, answered. Emily lowered her voice just for me. Don't make these people watch you decline. I'm not declining, I said. I'm refusing. Same result, Ryan said, different words. I stepped closer to him. Words matter. He smirked, then hooked his fingers under the top edge of the paper and yanked. The notice tore free with a bark of tape. He waved it head high like a flag. Clock's running, he called to the street. Phones came up. I saw a red record dot reflected in the porch glass. Ryan loved that dot like a mirror. Alternating grab for the paper. I didn't touch him. I stood where I was, the door at my back, the lake in my periphery, the neighbor's eyes like weather on my skin. Emily's voice trembled, calibrated. Please, Dad. Everyone can see you're struggling. Let us take the burden. Yukura kook, I said. You didn't ask. We asked at dinner, Ryan said. You don't remember. I remember watering plants, I said. And who is thirsty now? Mrs. Ortega spoke through the screen. Maybe let the young ones handle it, she offered. Compassion and condescension braided together. Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. It's not our business. It became your business, Ryan said smoothly, when he started making a scene. I looked at the key on the plank and left it there. The wind shifted, the metal didn't move. Emily held out her hand. Please, Dad, give me the folder, we'll sort it. I didn't. The folder stayed under my arm where proof belonged. Ryan's grin thinned. So you're refusing to move your things? In front of all these witnesses, I said evenly, I am refusing to surrender what is mine. Get that, someone whispered, the phone lens tilting, the little red dot steady. Ryan lifted the notice higher. 48 hours, he shouted, and we'll be in regardless. No one spoke after that. The heat pressed down. The phones kept staring. Emily's eyes shone dark, and the key lay between us like a small verdict I had set aside. I held still. Sometimes holding still is the only way a line shows. We stayed like that, him waving paper, me silent, neighbors ringed like a jury that didn't want the job, until even the wind went quiet. And the scene froze on their stares. Still, Monday afternoon, pressed down hot enough to make the porch board smell like resin. The notice I'd refused yesterday was gone. Ryan had waved it like a flag until the tape gave up, but its ghost still marked the door in a dusty rectangle. I stood on my threshold with the folder snug under my arm, watching the street fill itself with witnesses who swore they were only out for a walk. Ryan flicked his wrist, checked a watch he didn't need. Tick-tock. Emily touched his elbow. Ryan, mild without looking at her. Just keeping time. Forgiveness. I pulled my phone. 24 hours left. Monday, 4 p.m. The numbers flipped with a soft vibration. I let the screen go dark and put it away. Heart pulse. Being outnumbered isn't the same as being wrong. It just feels louder. A patrol car rolled to the curb. The officer stepped out, summer sleeves, patient face. He didn't put a hand on anything. He looked at the door, then at me, then at Emily and Ryan. "Afternoon," he said. "Got a call." Ryan spoke first. "We have an eviction he's obstructing." Emily's voice came in on top of his. "We're just trying to help him comply peacefully." The officer turned to me. "Sir, I'm the owner," I said. "They're trying to move in. It's a civil matter." He nodded once, as if I'd skipped him to his line. "Exactly right. Civil dispute. We don't take sides in property claims. No signs of forced entry, no threat, so I can't act. Work it out in court." Ryan laughed softly. "You hear that? Court. See you there." "Uniforms don't decide deeds," I said, meeting the officer's eye. "And neither does a crowd." He didn't disagree. "Everyone keep it calm," he said. "No trespass, no damage." He tipped his head toward the open rectangle where the notice had hung. "Paper shows up in court, not on porches." Then he stepped back, slid into the car, and let the cruiser idle while he typed something we wouldn't see. The blinker ticked, 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 and then the car rolled away. A neighbor 2 doors down lowered her phone. The blue glow made her eyes look sympathetic for a second before the sympathy hardened. "Everyone's saying to let them move in," she announced, not quite to me, not quite to anyone. A few faces turned to her screen and away from mine. Ryan clasped his hands like a pastor concluding a message. "You heard the officer, this is about court. Meanwhile, we all know what's right for the neighborhood." "What's right," I said, "is not stealing." "Words like that hurt," Emily snapped, then softened it for the audience. "I mean, they're not helpful. Dad, this can still be peaceful. We can do it today, and you won't have to rush tomorrow." A small sneaker scuffed something near the step. A kid scooped up the spare key I'd let fall yesterday, the sun flashing off its teeth. "Mister, you dropped this." Before I could answer, Ryan stepped down, took it from the child, and palmed a dollar bill into his hand with a grin for the mother watching. "Thanks, buddy." He slid the key into his pocket with ceremony, metal disappearing as if the trick were legal. Mrs. Ortega leaned into her screen door. "He hardly stays there anyway," she said, as if repeating it made it truer. Mr. Alvarez folded his arms, voice careful. "Maybe wait for the board." "Pretended they're board ruling," I said. "There's a deed." Ryan spread his arms toward the ring of neighbors. "Community has a say. You all know an empty house invites trouble. Complied an empty claim invites more," I said. He stepped one tread up inside my shadow. "Move your things, Harold." "You don't move an owner," I said. "You're not acting like one." "Owners hold lines," I said. "Thieves redraw them." A murmur ran through the crowd, discomfort at the word, not at the act. Emily winced. "Dad, please don't use that word." She turned to the nearest cluster. "He doesn't mean it." "I mean it," I said. The street felt like a courtroom without a judge. Phones hung half-raised like unsure hands. The officer's absence left a vacuum that filled with certainty the longer the crowd looked at me and not at the rectangle of dust on my door. Ryan checked imaginary time again. 24 hours, he said, like a chant. "After that, we won't be so patient." "You were never patient," I said. "You were opportunistic." He said, smiling, "Doesn't change the calendar." My phone buzzed once more. 24 hours left. Monday, 4 p.m. As if it enjoyed being right. I didn't glance down. I kept my eyes on Emily, because she still wanted to pretend this was a family matter instead of a land grab with good lighting. She stepped closer, voice low. I don't want you humiliated tomorrow, I said. I arranged today, she said. You arranged witnesses, I said. We stood there while the heat pressed the smell of sap out of the boards, while the key in Ryan's pocket left a small, bright outline in the sun on his jeans, while the neighbors rehearsed the lines they would later insist they had not spoken out loud. Down the street, a dog barked twice and silenced itself, as if even it understood that noise had a price today. The patrol car turned at the corner and vanished. The porch returned to its own weather. The crowd didn't. Phones hovered. The air waited for me to break. I didn't. I pulled the phone at last, just enough for the screen to wake. 24 hours left. Monday, 4 p.m., glowed once, then dimmed. I let it go black and pocketed it without a word. The only sound left was the insect hum of a summer that didn't care who owned anything at all. The church hall smelled like coffee and floor wax. Folding chairs faced a low lectern beneath a wooden cross. Neighbors filled the front rows, their phones tucked away for once. The council chair tapped the mic. We'll keep this civil. Emily sat 2 seats to my left, hands folded, knuckles white. Ryan lounged beside her like he owned the air. David Keller stood behind me, calm as a ledger. Pastor Maria waited at the aisle, a quiet pillar. At the end of the row, a woman in a navy dress held a slim folder. The director of the Santa Fe Veterans Housing Initiative. Stabilized to me, were nodded to me. Mr. Mitchell? Rose. I took that walk to the lectern and set the metal on the wood. It made the smallest sound, then I stepped aside. Ryan couldn't help himself. Everyone knows he gave us that key, he said to the room, palm up, collecting agreement. We tried to keep this in the family. Emily's voice trembled. Dad, please, don't do something you can't take back. I looked at her, then at the rows of faces. Rumors have had their turn, I said. Tonight, we'll let a record speak. Heart pulse, relief dressed like grief. I let it go so it could stay right. The director came to the lectern, opened her folder, and lifted a single printed page. For the record, she said, voice steady, I'm Elena Ruiz, director of the Santa Fe Veterans Housing Initiative. I'm reading from a certified copy of a document recorded at the county recorder's office. She held the page so the room could see the square stamp near the top, ink dark as a verdict. Recorded 10 a.m., no codes, no clutter. A time, a mark. She read, the legal description, the transfer of the villa to the initiative, the purpose, retreat housing for veterans, and then, clear as sunlight, the clause for my lifetime visitation rights. This was recorded Friday at 10 a.m. It is binding. Jamaica murmurs rippled. Someone exhaled like they'd been holding their breath for a week. Ryan barked a laugh that sounded hollow in the rafters. A stunt! He's manipulating paperwork. David stepped forward 1 pace. Recording is not a stunt, it's title. Friday at 10 o'clock preceded your 72 hours. Whatever countdown you waved is legally moot. The council chair frowned at Ryan. Let him finish. Elena set the page on the lectern. The stamp faced the crowd. The spare key lay just below it, metal dulled by paper's shadow. Our board has accepted the donation, she said. We'll take possession per the statute. We intend to welcome our first residents next month. Pastor Maria lifted a hand and the room stilled. I've known Harold a long time, she said. He keeps his promises, especially the ones that don't benefit him. I can confirm the words we just heard match the page we're all looking at. Emily's eyes filled. Dad? She stood halfway, then sat, then forced herself up again. She turned to the room, not to me, breathing like the floor might give way. I said things that weren't true. I pushed him. I'm sorry. Her voice broke on the last word, and the sound felt like a door closing softly instead of a slam. Ryan reached for swagger and found only air. This isn't fair, he said, but it came out small. He blindsided us. I stepped to the lectern beside the paper and the key. No one is blind here, I said. We all watched a rumor try to become a deed. Records speak, rumors evaporate. He opened his mouth again, then saw the stamp, and the room seeing it with him. Whatever line he was reaching for shrank under the ink. Mrs. Ortega leaned toward her neighbor. "Recorded Friday," she whispered, as if translating. The council chair cleared his throat. "The matter of possession seems resolved by the recording. We'll make a note that any porch incidents were civil and now concluded." Tangled Edward gathered the page, then placed a second copy on the lectern, a courtesy, not a new document. She slid it toward me with a nod. "For you." I didn't pick up the spare key. I pocketed the stamped copy instead. Confiscated should my sleeve as the room exhaled. "Dad, I wanted control because I was scared of losing you." She blinked hard. "I'm sorry. Spec keeps families close, not theft." I let the words land and didn't try to soften them. Ryan stared at the floor, jaw working, a man searching for a stage that had just been taken down around him. He didn't apologize. He didn't have lines left. The council chair raised a hand. "Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned." Chairs scraped, people stood. Some nodded at me. Some nodded at the stamp, as if it, not I, had answered them. Pastor Maria put a warm palm on my shoulder. David gave the smallest smile. Elena tucked the key under the copy still on the lectern and left it there, unused, where it belonged, beneath the record. I turned from the mic, the stamped copy secure against my chest, and walked down the aisle without looking back. The locksmith arrived 2 minutes early, the van door sliding open with a practiced thrum. Elena Ruiz stood beside him on the porch, clipboard in hand, calm as a foreman. A patrol car idled across the street, civil standby only, its presence like a hand on a shoulder telling everyone to keep their voices low. "Morning, Mr. Mitchell," Elena said. "We're proceeding with possession per Friday's recording and last night's acknowledgement." She lifted a single sheet for the porch to see. Locksmith work order. The page bore one square stamp, dark and tidy. Authorized, VHI. Con Spencer stepped up from the walk, chin forward. "You can't just..." Elena pivoted the sheet half an inch toward him, not offering it, only letting the stamp be read once. "We can, we are." The locksmith glanced to Elena for the nod, got it, and knelt to the deadbolt. Metal whispered. A cylinder slid free with a soft surrender. He fitted a new one, turned his driver. Click. The sound was small and absolute. Heart pulse. Peace doesn't roar, it clicks, once in a new lock. Emily hovered at the bottom step, hands woven tight. "Can we talk about access?" she asked me. "We didn't mean to." The sentence ran out of road. "You can speak with the initiative," I said. "It's their door now." Ryan jabbed a finger toward the knob. "He's using a technicality to steal his own house." The patrol officer spoke from the curb without leaving his car. "Civil matter settled, sir. Don't escalate." Elena handed the locksmith a small tray already half full of old brass. "Retired keys," she said. I set the spare key, the one Emily pressed into my palm on Sunday, into the tray. It lay among strangers, just more metal. The locksmith stood, wiped his hands, and presented 2 small rectangles. "Fobs. One for staff," he said to Elena, "and 1 visitor fob, per the agreement." He placed the second into my palm. It was lighter than any key I'd ever carried. Ryan laughed, thin. "So, he gets special treatment." Wolfgang shook her head. "He gets exactly what's recorded. Lifetime visitation. Check-ins at the front desk. No overnight without approval. That's policy." Emily looked at me. "If I want to bring groceries, just to help, can I come with him?" In my fingers, "You can request time with the initiative like anyone else." I kept my voice even. "Policy isn't personal, it's protection." Her shoulders sank a notch, then held. "I understand." Didn't. "You'll lock us out and call it kindness." "I'll call it boundaries," I said. Elena nodded to the locksmith. "Interior latch?" He moved inside to swap the secondary lock. The open door framed the room I'd saved and surrendered Anita's lamp, shrouded in its dust cover. The porch light switch I'd installed with our first winter there. The sight line to the lake that had once belonged to my evenings. The driver turned inside. Click. Another seal, same quiet conviction. Blazing stepped out long enough to speak to Ryan and Emily in a measured tone. "There's no criminal path for you here. Don't test the trespass line today." He tipped 2 fingers to Elena, then returned to the cruiser. Elena checked boxes on her clipboard. "Work order complete," she said to me. Mr. Mitchell, here's your visitor schedule card and welcome packet. She offered a thick envelope. We'll hold a plaque installation tomorrow morning. If you'd like, you can say a word. Wednesday, I said. Punish my sleeve, no pressure, only contact. Dad, I'm sorry for the way I handled everything. The apology came easier now that there was nothing left to win. I let it be what it was. I'll be at the installation, I said. You can too if you come as neighbors. Ryan looked away, jaw working. We'll see. Elena slipped the authorized VHI work order back into her folder. We're done here, she told the locksmith. Thank you. He nodded to me as he passed. Good hardware, he said. It'll hold. We walked the short ritual. Elena locked the door from outside, tested the handle, then tapped her fob to wake the keypad. A soft tone answered and the light flicked from red to green, only for a moment. The door opened, then settled shut again, newly sure of itself. Visitor access works at the side entry, she said to me. Reception will program your name in an hour. Come whenever you need within daytime hours. I will. The officer pulled away. The street exhaled. A breeze moved across the lake and through the cottonwoods. The same as yesterday, but today it felt permitted to be ordinary. Emily and Ryan stood on the sidewalk a moment longer, as if waiting for a cue that wasn't coming. Finally, Emily said, tomorrow 10? 9? Elena corrected gently. Plaque install is at 9. Seizing nodded. We'll be there. She tugged Ryan's sleeve. He didn't resist. They walked to their car without another word. Inside, the foyer smelled like cut wood again. Elena left the welcome envelope on the entry table, then pointed to a small hook near the door. Visitor fob lives there when you don't need it. It on the hook. The empty space where a key used to hang didn't bother me. The hook looked cleaner without the weight. Phone woke as if it sensed the quiet. The eviction timer I'd set 2 days ago was grayed out. 000, deadline passed. I dismissed it with a thumb and set a new calendar ping. Plaque install, tomorrow 9 a.m. The alert chimed once and went still. Elena offered her hand. I shook it. We'll take good care of the place, she said. I know, I said. That's why it's yours. She left. The door closed. For the first time in days, there was nothing to defend. I picked up the welcome packet, weighed it, and set it back down, unopened. Then I palmed the visitor fob, felt its small pulse of readiness, and slipped it into my pocket. Protecting I didn't win by shouting. I waited, signed, and let the record speak. The voices that once claimed my villa thinned to silence when the stamp held. Patience isn't softness. It's a spine you lend to the truth. In the foyer, the tray of old keys is quiet while my visitor fob gives one small green beep. Disregtory, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.